The candle flame flickered as Lady Beatrice Hartwell pressed herself against the cold stone wall. Her stepmother's voice echoed through the hallway below, sharp, cutting, full of contempt. "She is a burden, nothing more," Lady Margaret Hartwell said. 23 years old and still unmarried. A waste of space in this house." Beatrice closed her eyes. The words struck like physical blows. She had heard them before, many times, but they never stopped hurting. Her fingers traced the rough stone behind her. The wall felt solid, real, unlike her place in this house, unlike her value to the family that should have loved her. She pulled her thin shawl tighter around her shoulders. The February cold seeped through the walls of Hartwell Manor. Her room was in the oldest part of the house, the coldest part. Lady Margaret had moved her there 3 years ago, after Beatrice's father died. "No man will have her," her stepsister Cordelia's voice joined in. "She is plain as a post. Those grey eyes look like dirty water, and her hair is the colour of mud." Beatrice's hand moved to her brown hair. It hung loose down her back. She had no maid to help her style it, no one to help her dress, no one who cared if she ate or froze or disappeared entirely. The voices faded as the women moved away. Beatrice let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Her heart still pounded in her chest. Fear lived in her bones now. Constant, exhausting. She moved to the small mirror on her dresser. The glass was cracked, old, but she could see herself well enough. Grey eyes stared back at her. Were they really like dirty water? Her skin was pale from staying indoors. Her cheekbones were sharp from too many missed meals. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps she was nothing special. But something deep inside her refused to believe it completely. Some small flame of dignity still burned. Her father had loved her once. He had called her his little songbird because she hummed while she worked. He had praised her kindness and her clever mind. That was before his hunting accident, before the fever took him, before everything changed. Now Beatrice was a servant in her own home. She scrubbed floors, she mended clothes, she carried water and emptied chamber pots. All the work that Lady Margaret refused to pay servants to do. "If you must eat our food and take up space, you will earn your keep," her stepmother had said. Beatrice didn't complain. Complaining made things worse. Silence was safer. She moved to the window. Snow covered the grounds of Hartwell Manor. The estate was beautiful in winter, white and pure, like a painting. Her father had loved this view. She pressed her hand against the cold glass. "I miss you, Papa," she whispered. A knock on the door made her jump. Her heart raced. Visitors to her room meant trouble. "Miss Beatrice?" The voice was soft, kind. It belonged to Mrs. Davies, the elderly housekeeper, one of the few servants left from her father's time, one of the few who still showed her any kindness. Beatrice opened the door. Mrs. Davies stood there with a small plate, bread and cheese, an apple. "You missed supper again," the old woman said. She pressed the plate into Beatrice's hands. "You must eat, child." Tears burned behind Beatrice's eyes. Kindness was so rare now. It hurt almost as much as cruelty. "Thank you," she whispered. Mrs. Davies patted her hand. "Your father would be heartbroken to see how they treat you." She glanced down the hallway. "But things may change soon. I heard Lady Margaret talking. There is news coming. News that concerns you." Beatrice's stomach tightened. "What kind of news?" "I cannot say more. But be ready, dear child. Be ready for anything." The old woman shuffled away. Beatrice closed the door. She stared at the food in her hands. Her appetite was gone. What news could concern her? What could possibly change? Whatever it was, she doubted it would be good. 70 miles away, at the grand estate of Blackthorn Hall, Lord Nathaniel Ashford stood at his study window. Rain pounded against the glass. The storm matched his mood. Dark, relentless, cold. He was 30 years old, a duke, one of the wealthiest men in England. He owned 3 estates and had more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. None of it mattered. The emptiness inside him was vast, echoing. He felt like a shell of a man, going through the motions of life without really living. His wife had died 3 years ago, Charlotte. She had been beautiful, perfect, exactly the kind of woman society expected him to marry. But their marriage had been cold, formal. She had given him an heir, a son named Thomas, now 2 years old. Then she caught pneumonia and faded away. He had mourned, but not the way a man should mourn the love of his life. He had mourned what could have been, what should have been, the connection they never found. Now he was alone. His son was too young for real conversation. His mother lived in Bath. His sister had married and moved to Scotland. Blackthorn Hall was enormous and empty. The servants walked on tiptoes around him. Society ladies whispered about him at balls. So handsome, they said. So wealthy. So tragic. They saw his title and his money. They didn't see him. The real him. The man who woke in the middle of the night feeling suffocated by loneliness. The man who sometimes stood in his son's nursery just to hear another human breathing. A knock interrupted his thoughts. His butler, Hammond, entered with a letter on a silver tray. "From your solicitor, Your Grace. He says it is urgent." Nathaniel took the letter. He broke the seal and read. His expression didn't change, but something shifted inside him. A feeling he couldn't name. Dread, perhaps, or maybe something else. "Problem, Your Grace?" Hammond asked. Nathaniel folded the letter carefully. "No, not a problem, just a complication." The letter was from his solicitor in London. It concerned a matter of honor, a debt. His father had borrowed money from a man named Lord Hartwell 15 years ago, a gambling debt, a substantial one. Lord Hartwell had never called it in. He had been a gentleman about it. But Lord Hartwell had died 3 years ago. His widow, Lady Margaret Hartwell, was now demanding payment, the full amount, with interest. Nathaniel had the money. That wasn't the issue. But Lady Margaret had added a condition, a strange one. She wanted the debt settled through a marriage. Her stepdaughter, Miss Beatrice Hartwell. She wanted Nathaniel to marry the girl and clear the debt. It was absurd, ridiculous. No one arranged marriages this way anymore, not in 1835. But his solicitor had investigated. The debt was real. His father had signed papers. There were witnesses. If Nathaniel refused, Lady Margaret could take him to court. The scandal would be enormous. The newspapers would feast on it. Duke refuses to honor father's debt. His reputation would suffer. More importantly, his son would grow up hearing about it. The alternative was to marry a stranger, a woman he had never met, a woman from a minor family with no connections, a woman that her own stepmother was apparently eager to dispose of. What kind of woman must she be if her own family wanted to be rid of her? Nathaniel moved to his desk. He poured a glass of brandy. The liquid burned going down, but it didn't warm the cold inside him. He thought about his life, his empty house, his lonely nights, his son growing up without a mother figure. Would a marriage of convenience really be worse than this endless isolation? At least it would solve the debt. At least it would give Thomas a mother. Even if she was plain or difficult or cold, she couldn't make his life much emptier than it already was. He sat down and pulled out writing paper. His hand moved across the page, clean, decisive. He wrote to his solicitor. He would agree to the terms. He would marry Miss Beatrice Hartwell. The wedding would take place in 1 month. As he sealed the letter, he felt nothing. No excitement, no fear, just the same emptiness he always felt. He had no way of knowing that his life was about to change forever. Act 2. The Forced Union. The news came on a grey morning in March. Lady Margaret swept into Beatrice's room without knocking. Her face was triumphant, almost gleeful. "Get up," she commanded. "We have much to discuss." Beatrice rose from her small bed. She had been mending a torn petticoat. Her fingers were red from the cold. She waited silently, eyes down, hands folded. "You are to be married," Lady Margaret announced. The words hung in the air. Beatrice's mind went blank. Married? Impossible. No one had ever shown interest in her. No one had ever called. No man had ever asked to dance with her at the few balls she had been allowed to attend. "I don't understand," Beatrice said softly. "You don't need to understand. You need to obey." Lady Margaret's smile was sharp. "The Duke of Ashford has agreed to marry you. In exchange, a debt your father owed will be settled. Everyone benefits." The Duke of Ashford. Beatrice knew the name. Everyone did. He was one of the most powerful men in England, wealthy beyond measure, handsome, they said, but cold, distant, haunted by his first wife's death. "Why would he agree to this?" Beatrice asked. "Because his father owed your father money, and because I was clever enough to negotiate terms." Lady Margaret stepped closer. Her eyes were hard. "You will marry him. You will not embarrass this family. You will do exactly as you are told. Do you understand?" Beatrice's hands trembled. "I understand." "Good. The wedding is in 3 weeks. You will travel to Blackthorn Hall. The ceremony will be private. Then, you will be his problem, not mine." Lady Margaret left. The door slammed behind her. Beatrice sank onto her bed. Her whole body shook. Married. To a duke. To a stranger. To a man who was doing this to settle a debt. She was being sold, traded like property, like a horse or a piece of furniture. The humiliation burned through her, but beneath it was something else. A tiny spark of something that might have been hope, or maybe just desperation. At least she would leave this house. At least she would escape Lady Margaret's cruelty. Whatever waited for her at Blackthorn Hall, it couldn't be worse than this. Could it? The 3 weeks passed in a blur. Beatrice was given new clothes, simple traveling dresses, nothing fancy. Lady Margaret spent no more money than absolutely necessary. Cordelia watched the preparations with jealous eyes. "A duke," she hissed. "You don't deserve a duke. You should be grateful. You should be on your knees thanking us." Beatrice said nothing. She had learned long ago that silence was her best weapon. The day of departure came. Mrs. Davies hugged her tightly. "Be brave, dear child. Perhaps this is God's plan. Perhaps you will find happiness." Beatrice wanted to believe it, but fear sat heavy in her chest. The journey to Blackthorn Hall took 2 days. The carriage was comfortable, warm, better than anything she had experienced in years. But Beatrice couldn't enjoy it. Every mile brought her closer to her unknown future. She arrived at Blackthorn Hall in the evening. The house was enormous, bigger than Hartwell Manor, grander, more imposing. Windows glowed with candlelight. The grounds were perfectly maintained. Everything spoke of wealth and power. A butler met her at the door. "Miss Hartwell, welcome. I am Hammond. His Grace is waiting in the drawing room." Her legs felt weak as she followed Hammond through marble hallways. The house was beautiful, cold, like a museum. Her footsteps echoed on the polished floors. Hammond opened a door. "Miss Hartwell, Your Grace." Beatrice stepped inside. Her heart pounded so hard she thought everyone must hear it. A man stood by the fireplace, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair, sharp features. He turned to face her. His eyes were blue, ice blue. They studied her with no expression. This was the Duke of Ashford, her future husband. He was the most handsome man she had ever seen, and the most terrifying. Miss Hartwell. His voice was deep, controlled. Please, sit. She sat on the edge of a chair. Her hands gripped each other in her lap. She kept her eyes down. Her whole body was tense, ready to flee. Look at me. The command was gentle but firm. She forced herself to raise her eyes. He was watching her, really watching her, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. I will be honest with you, he said. This is not a love match. We both know that. But I intend to treat you with respect. You will have everything you need: comfort, safety, security. In return, I ask only that you be a good mother to my son and a proper duchess. Can you do that? His words were businesslike, practical, but not cruel. That surprised her. I will try my best, Your Grace, she said softly. Something flickered in his eyes. You don't need to be afraid of me. I will not hurt you. I am not afraid, she lied. His mouth almost curved into a smile. Almost. You are a terrible liar, Miss Hartwell. Heat flooded her face. She looked down again. The wedding is tomorrow morning, he continued. It will be small, just the vicar and a few witnesses. Afterward, you will settle in. I will give you time to adjust. There is no rush for anything. She understood what he meant. Heat burned in her cheeks again. Thank you, Your Grace. You may call me Ashford when we are alone, or Nathaniel if you prefer. Thank you, Your Grace. She couldn't bring herself to use his name. Not yet. It felt too intimate. He watched her for another moment. Then he nodded. Hammond will show you to your rooms. Rest. Tomorrow will be a long day. She stood, curtsied, and fled. That night, Beatrice lay in the largest bed she had ever seen. Her room was 5 times the size of her old one. A fire burned cheerfully in the hearth. Thick curtains blocked out the cold. Everything was beautiful, comfortable, perfect. But she couldn't sleep. Tomorrow she would become a duchess. Tomorrow her life would change forever. Tomorrow she would belong to that cold, handsome stranger. She touched her lips. They felt dry, nervous. She wondered if he would kiss her tomorrow, if he would expect her to share his bed immediately. The thought made her stomach flip. He had said there was no rush, but what did that mean? Days? Weeks? Forever? She rolled over, pulled the blankets to her chin, tried to slow her racing heart. Through the wall she heard footsteps. Him. Moving around in the next room. His room. So close. She closed her eyes and prayed for courage. The wedding ceremony was brief, efficient. The vicar spoke the words. Beatrice repeated them in a voice barely above a whisper. Nathaniel's voice was steady, strong. He slipped a ring onto her finger, gold and heavy. It felt like a shackle. You may kiss the bride. Nathaniel turned to her. She looked up at him. His face was unreadable. He leaned down. His lips brushed her forehead. Soft, gentle. Not what she expected. It is done, he said quietly. They signed papers. The witnesses congratulated them. Everything felt unreal, like a dream, or a nightmare. She couldn't decide which. A wedding breakfast was served. Beatrice could barely eat. Her throat was too tight, her stomach too nervous. She sipped tea and pushed food around her plate. Nathaniel ate with the same controlled manner he did everything. Calm, collected, distant. After the meal, he stood. I have business to attend to. Hammond will help you settle in. We will dine together this evening. He left. Beatrice sat alone in the enormous dining room. The silence pressed down on her. She was married. She was a duchess, and she had never felt more alone in her life. The days that followed established a pattern. Nathaniel was polite, distant. He treated her like a guest in his home. They dined together each evening. They made small talk about the weather, about the estate, about nothing important. He never touched her, never came to her room. He kept his distance. Part of her was relieved. Part of her felt rejected. Was she so unappealing that even a husband bound by duty didn't want her? But there were small kindnesses. He made sure she had everything she needed. He asked about her comfort. He introduced her to his son, little Thomas. The boy was beautiful, dark-haired like his father. He stared at Beatrice with solemn eyes. "Say hello to the Duchess," Nathaniel said. "Hello," Thomas whispered. Then he hid behind his father's leg. Beatrice knelt down, made herself smaller, less threatening. "Hello, Thomas. You may call me Beatrice if you like." The boy peeked out. "Beatrice?" "That's right. Very good." Something in Nathaniel's expression softened, just for a moment. Then it was gone. One evening, 2 weeks after the wedding, they sat in the library after dinner. Rain pattered against the windows. Nathaniel read papers. Beatrice tried to read a novel but couldn't concentrate. "Are you unhappy?" His question startled her. She looked up. He was watching her over his papers. "No, Your Grace." "That is not an answer." He set the papers aside. "You have been here 2 weeks. You barely speak. You barely eat. You look like you are waiting for the floor to collapse beneath you." Beatrice's hands tightened on her book. "I am adjusting." "To what? I have given you everything." "You have given me many things," she said carefully. "But I am still a stranger here. I do not know my place. I do not know what you expect of me." He stood, moved to the fireplace. His back was to her. "I expect you to be comfortable, to feel at home." "This is your home, Your Grace, not mine." He turned sharply. "You are my wife. That makes it your home." "No." The word came out before she could stop it. "I am your obligation, the payment for a debt. There is a difference." Silence filled the room, thick, heavy. Beatrice wanted to take the words back. She had spoken out of turn. She had been ungrateful. But then Nathaniel did something unexpected. He laughed. It was short, rusty, like he didn't laugh often, but it was real. "You are braver than I thought," he said. "That is good." He walked to where she sat. He held out his hand. "Come, walk with me." She stared at his hand. Large, strong, steady. She placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers. Warm, gentle. He pulled her to her feet. They walked through the house. He showed her the portrait gallery, the conservatory, the music room. He talked about the history of Blackthorn Hall, about his family, about things that mattered and things that didn't. And slowly, something inside Beatrice began to relax, just a little. When they returned to the library, he didn't let go of her hand immediately. He looked down at where their fingers were joined. "I am not good at this," he said quietly. "I was not good at it with my first wife. I do not know how to make you feel welcome. But I am trying." Her heart squeezed. "I know." "Will you try too?" She nodded. "Yes." His thumb brushed across her knuckles. Once, soft. Then he released her hand. "Good night, Beatrice." It was the first time he had used her name. It sent warmth through her chest. "Good night, Nathaniel." His name felt strange on her tongue, but also right. He paused, looked back at her. Something flickered in his eyes, something that might have been pleasure. Then he was gone. And Beatrice stood alone. But for the first time since arriving at Blackthorn Hall, she didn't feel entirely lonely. Act 3. The Blooming. Spring came to Blackthorn Hall. The gardens burst into bloom. Beatrice discovered a love for walking among the flowers. She spent hours there, breathing in the scent of roses and lavender, listening to birds sing, feeling sun on her face. Nathaniel often joined her. At first, she thought it was duty, But then she noticed he seemed to relax there too. His shoulders would drop. His jaw would unclench. Sometimes he would smile at something she said. Those smiles became precious to her, rare gifts she treasured. One afternoon they walked by the lily pond. Thomas toddled between them. Each of them held one of his small hands. The boy laughed and jumped, pure joy. "He likes you," Nathaniel said. "I like him too. He is a good boy. He was shy before you came. Now he laughs more, plays more." Nathaniel looked at her, really looked at her. "You are good for him." "I am glad. You are good for this house too. It feels different now, warmer." His words made her heart skip. She didn't know how to respond, so she just squeezed Thomas's hand and kept walking. But something had shifted. She felt it. The distance between them was shrinking, day by day, moment by moment. A crisis came in April. Thomas fell ill, a fever. The doctor was called. He said it was not serious, but Nathaniel was frantic. He paced outside the nursery. His face was pale, his hands shook. Beatrice understood. He had lost his first wife to illness. Now his son was sick. The fear must be overwhelming. "He will be fine," she said gently. "You don't know that." His voice was harsh, desperate. "No, but I believe it. He is strong, like his father." Nathaniel stopped pacing. He looked at her. His eyes were raw with emotion, vulnerable. For the first time, she saw behind the cold mask. She saw the man beneath, the man who loved his son, the man who was terrified of losing him. "Come," she said. She took his hand, led him into the nursery. They sat by Thomas's bed. She placed a cool cloth on the boy's forehead. She sang soft lullabies, songs her father used to sing to her. Nathaniel watched her. His hand covered hers on the boy's bed. His touch was tight, desperate, like he was drowning and she was his anchor. They stayed there all night, together, watching over Thomas. As dawn broke, the fever broke too. Thomas opened his eyes. He saw them both and smiled. "Mama," he said to Beatrice. "Papa." Her eyes filled with tears. Nathaniel's hand tightened on hers. "We are here," she whispered. "We are both here." The doctor returned and confirmed Thomas was recovering well. When he left, Beatrice stood to go. She needed sleep. They both did. But Nathaniel caught her hand. He pulled her back, and then, without warning, he wrapped his arms around her, held her close, his face buried in her hair. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice was rough, broken. "Thank you." She held him back, this strong, proud man who was trembling in her arms. "You don't need to thank me. He is my son too now." He pulled back just enough to look at her. His hands framed her face. His thumbs brushed her cheekbones. His eyes searched hers, looking for something, finding it. "How did I not see you before?" he said quietly. "See what?" "How beautiful you are. How kind. How strong." His voice was filled with wonder. "I was blind." Her breath caught. No one had ever called her beautiful. No one had ever looked at her like this, like she mattered, like she was precious. "Your skin tastes like fear," he whispered. His lips brushed her temple, soft, reverent. "But your lips taste like surrender." Then he kissed her, really kissed her. His mouth covered hers, warm, firm, gentle but demanding. She gasped. Her hands clutched his shirt. The world tilted. He tasted like coffee and desperation. His hands tangled in her hair. Her heart pounded. This was nothing like she imagined. This was fire and need, and something so overwhelming she couldn't breathe. When he pulled back, they were both shaking. His forehead rested against hers. Their breath mingled. "I am sorry," he said. "I should not have—" "Don't apologize." Her voice was fierce. "Please don't apologize." He looked at her. A slow smile spread across his face. A real smile. One that reached his eyes. One that transformed him from handsome to devastating. "Then I won't." He kissed her again. Slower this time, savoring it, savoring her. And Beatrice felt something inside her break open, something she had kept locked away. Her heart, her hope, her love. She was falling in love with her husband. After that night, everything changed. Nathaniel no longer kept his distance. He sought her out. He touched her constantly. Small touches. His hand at her back, his fingers brushing hers, his lips on her forehead. They talked for hours, about everything, about nothing. He told her about his childhood, his difficult relationship with his father, his loneliness after Charlotte died. "I thought I loved her," he said one evening. They sat in the garden. The sun was setting. "But it was never real. We were strangers who shared a name. I mourned the idea of her, not her." "That must have been lonely." "It was. Until you." She looked at him. He was watching her with such intensity it made her breath catch. "You make me feel alive again," he said. "I didn't realize how dead I was inside until you came." "I am nothing special," she said automatically, years of Lady Margaret's words echoing in her head. "Stop." His hand cupped her face. "Don't say that. Don't ever say that. You are everything. You are clever and kind and brave. You make my son laugh. You make this house a home. You make me want to be a better man." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "How can you see me that way? How can you not?" He wiped her tears with his thumbs. "Who told you that you were not special? Who made you believe you were worthless?" She told him. Everything. About Lady Margaret. About Cordelia. About being treated like a servant in her own home. About the hunger and the cold and the constant humiliation. As she spoke, his face grew dark, angry. His hands tightened on her. "They will never hurt you again," he said. His voice was fierce, protective. "I promise you that. You are mine now. Mine to protect, mine to cherish, and I will not fail you." "I believe you." "Good." He pulled her close. She rested her head on his chest. She could hear his heart beating. Strong, steady, real. "I am falling in love with you," she whispered. His arms tightened around her. "Thank God, because I am already gone." The next weeks were the happiest of Beatrice's life. She and Nathaniel were inseparable. They rode horses together. They played with Thomas. They danced in the ballroom with no music. They kissed in the garden and the library, and every private corner they could find. The servants noticed. Hammond actually smiled. The maids giggled. The whole house seemed lighter, brighter, full of joy. One night, Nathaniel came to her room. He knocked softly. She opened the door. He stood there in his shirt and trousers. His hair was mussed. His eyes were dark with desire. "May I come in?" His voice was rough. She stepped back, let him enter. Her heart pounded. She knew what this meant. He closed the door, locked it. Then he turned to her. His hands framed her face. "I need you to be sure. Once I have you, I will never let you go." "I am sure." "Beatrice." Her name was a prayer on his lips. "I love you, with everything I am, with everything I have. You are my heart, my home, my everything." "I love you too," she whispered. He kissed her then, deep, consuming. His hands moved to the buttons of her nightgown. She helped him, trembling, wanting, nervous but ready. That night, they became husband and wife in truth. Not from duty, not from obligation, but from love. Pure, complete, overwhelming love. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. The room was dark, except for moonlight streaming through the window. I never knew it could be like this, he said quietly. Like what? This complete. With Charlotte it was just duty, an act to produce an heir. With you it is everything, connection, pleasure, love. I feel like I finally understand what all the poets write about. She smiled against his skin. I am glad. Are you happy? He asked. More than I ever thought possible. He kissed the top of her head. Good, because I plan to spend the rest of my life making you even happier. She believed him. For the first time in years, she believed in happiness, in love, in forever. Act 4. The Crisis. The letter arrived in late May. It bore the seal of Lady Margaret Hartwell. Beatrice's hands shook as she opened it. Nathaniel stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder, protective. The letter was short, cold. Lady Margaret was coming to visit. She would arrive in 1 week. She wished to see how her dear stepdaughter was settling in. No, Nathaniel said immediately. Write back. Tell her she is not welcome. I cannot do that. It would cause a scandal. I don't care about scandal. But I do. Beatrice looked up at him. She cannot hurt me anymore. Not with you here. Let her come. Let her see that I am happy, that I am loved. Perhaps that will be enough to make her leave me alone forever. Nathaniel didn't like it. His jaw was tight, his eyes were hard. But he nodded. Fine, but I will not leave you alone with her, not for a moment. The week passed too quickly. Beatrice's anxiety grew with each day. She tried to hide it, but Nathaniel knew. He held her closer at night. He kissed her more often during the day. He reminded her constantly that she was safe, that she was loved. The day Lady Margaret arrived, Beatrice wore her finest dress, green silk that matched her eyes. Her hair was styled elegantly by her maid. She looked every inch a duchess. But inside, she was that frightened girl again, pressed against the cold wall, listening to cruel words. Lady Margaret swept into the drawing room like she owned it. Cordelia was with her. Both women looked around with calculating eyes, assessing, judging. Beatrice! Lady Margaret's voice was false honey. How wonderful you look! Marriage suits you. Thank you, Lady Margaret. Nathaniel stood beside Beatrice. His presence was solid, commanding. Lady Margaret, Miss Cordelia, welcome to Blackthorn Hall. Lady Margaret's eyes flickered to him, lingered. She was evaluating him too. Your Grace, how kind of you to receive us. My wife wished to see you. I am here to support her wishes. The emphasis on my wife was clear, a line drawn. Beatrice felt warmth spread through her chest. They sat. Tea was served. Conversation was strained. Lady Margaret asked pointed questions about Beatrice's duties, about her relationship with Thomas, about her standing in society. I trust you are fulfilling your obligations, Lady Margaret said. The words were innocent. The meaning was not. Beatrice fulfills every duty admirably, Nathaniel said. His voice was cold. She is an excellent mother to Thomas, a gracious hostess, and a perfect duchess. How fortunate, Lady Margaret sipped her tea. I worried, you see. Beatrice was always so awkward, so plain. I feared she would embarrass herself. And you. Beatrice flinched. The old words, the old wounds, they still had power. Then you feared wrongly. Nathaniel set down his teacup. The sound was sharp. I find my wife to be the most beautiful woman I have ever known, inside and out. Her kindness, her intelligence, her grace, they surpass anyone else I have met, including, if I may be frank, anyone in your family. Lady Margaret's smile froze. Cordelia gasped. Beatrice stared at Nathaniel. He had just insulted them, publicly, deliberately, for her. Your Grace, Lady Margaret said stiffly, I meant no offence. Yet offence was given. Let me be clear, Lady Margaret. Beatrice is my wife, my duchess. She is under my protection. Any slight to her is a slight to me, and I do not tolerate slights." The air was thick with tension. Lady Margaret stood. "I see we have overstayed our welcome. Come, Cordelia. We will take our leave." "That would be best," Nathaniel said. They left in a flurry of cold goodbyes and stiff courtesies. When they were gone, Beatrice let out a shaky breath. Her whole body trembled. Nathaniel pulled her into his arms. "Breathe. Just breathe. They are gone." "You insulted them. For me." "I would insult the king himself for you." He kissed her forehead. "No one will ever hurt you again. I meant that." She clung to him. Relief washed through her, but something nagged at her. "They will cause trouble. Lady Margaret does not forgive slights. Let them try. They have no power over us." But Beatrice couldn't shake the feeling that this was not over. She was right. A week later, rumors began, whispers in society. Someone was spreading stories about Beatrice, about her past, about her being a servant in her own home, about her being sold to pay a debt. The stories were twisted, made ugly. They painted her as a schemer, a social climber, a woman who trapped a duke. Nathaniel heard them at his club. His friends told him. Their faces were concerned. Some looked at him with pity, as if he were a fool who had been taken in. He came home in a rage. "Who is doing this?" "Lady Margaret," Beatrice said quietly. She sat in the library. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her face was pale. "She is punishing us. Punishing me. This is unacceptable. I will sue her for slander." "That will only make it worse. The newspapers will love it. The scandal will grow." Beatrice looked at him. Her eyes were sad. "Perhaps it would be better if I left." "What?" Nathaniel crossed to her. He knelt before her chair. His hands gripped hers. "What are you saying?" "The rumors hurt you. Your reputation. Thomas's future. If I were gone—" "If you were gone, I would die." His voice was fierce. "Do you understand me? I would die. You are my life now, my heart. I don't care about rumors. I don't care about society. I care about you." "But Thomas—" "Thomas loves you. He calls you Mama. He is happier with you here. We both are." Nathaniel's eyes were wet. "Please don't leave me, please. I am begging you." Tears streamed down her face. "I love you. I just want to protect you." "Then stay. Stay and let me protect you. We will face this together. We will fight these rumors together. We are stronger together." She nodded, unable to speak. He pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. But she didn't care. She never wanted him to let go. But doubt had been planted, and despite his words, Beatrice couldn't help but wonder if she was ruining his life. The social invitations stopped coming. People who had been friendly were now cold. At church, other ladies turned away. The whispers followed them everywhere. Nathaniel became harder, colder. He cut people from his life who believed the rumors. He defended Beatrice fiercely. Too fiercely. It made things worse. One night they attended a ball. It was a mistake. Beatrice knew it as soon as they entered. The room fell silent. Everyone stared. Then the whispers started, loud enough to be heard. "That is her, the servant girl who trapped the Duke. I heard she threatened to go to the newspapers if he didn't marry her. Poor Duke Ashford, taken in by a fortune hunter." Beatrice's face burned. She wanted to run. But Nathaniel's hand was firm on her back. "Hold your head high. You have done nothing wrong." But she felt wrong. She felt like the burden Lady Margaret always said she was. They danced. Nathaniel held her close. Too close for propriety. He was making a statement, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like desperation. When they returned home, Beatrice went to her room. She dismissed her maid. She sat at her vanity, stared at her reflection. Was she really so plain? So worthless? Had she really trapped him? No. Nathaniel's voice came from behind her. He had entered without her hearing. Don't believe their lies. How do you know what I am thinking? Because I know you. He came to stand behind her. His hands rested on her shoulders. Their eyes met in the mirror. You are questioning yourself. Questioning us. Don't. I have ruined your life. You have saved my life. He turned her to face him. Before you, I was empty, dead inside. You brought me back. You gave me love, joy, purpose. That is not ruin. That is salvation. But society be damned. I don't need their approval. I need you. She wanted to believe him, but the doubt was a poison inside her. What if he woke up one day and regretted everything? What if he looked at her and saw the burden everyone else saw? I love you, she whispered, but I am afraid. Of what? Of not being enough. He pulled her to her feet. His hands framed her face. You are everything. You are enough. You are more than enough, and I will spend every day of my life proving that to you. He kissed her then, deep, desperate, like he could kiss the doubt away. She clung to him, wanting to believe, trying to believe, but the fear remained, a shadow between them, growing larger every day. Act 5. The Triumph. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Nathaniel received an invitation to the Queen's garden party. It was a high honor, a sign of royal favor, but the invitation was for him alone. Beatrice was deliberately excluded. It was a public humiliation, a statement from society. They accepted him, but not her. I will decline, Nathaniel said immediately. No, Beatrice's voice was firm. You must go. Refusing would insult the Queen. I don't care. I do. Thomas's future depends on your standing. Go. Show them you are unbothered. They argued for an hour. Finally, Nathaniel agreed, but his face was dark, angry. The day of the party, he dressed in his finest clothes. He looked magnificent. A true duke, powerful, commanding, everything she was not. I will come back as soon as I can, he said. He kissed her goodbye, long, lingering. Wait for me. Always. He left. The house felt empty without him. Beatrice walked the gardens, trying to quiet her mind, but the thoughts wouldn't stop. The doubts, the fears, the certainty that she didn't belong in his world. She ended up in the library, sitting in his chair, surrounded by his scent, his presence. She closed her eyes, tried to feel close to him. A commotion in the hallway made her look up. Voices. Nathaniel's voice. He was back already, but something was wrong. He sounded angry. No, not angry. Desperate. He burst into the library. His hair was wild. His cravat was undone. He looked like a man on the edge of breaking. Where is she? He demanded of Hammond, who had followed him. I am here. Beatrice stood. What happened? Nathaniel saw her. His whole body sagged with relief. He crossed to her in 3 long strides. He pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she gasped. I thought you left, he said against her hair. I thought you were gone. What? No. Why would you think that? Lady Margaret. She was at the party. She told me you had packed your things, that you realized you had made a mistake, that you were going back to Hartwell Manor. His voice broke. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I left immediately. I had to find you. I had to stop you. Beatrice pulled back, looked at his face. He was pale. His eyes were wild. This strong, controlled man was falling apart. I am not leaving, she said firmly. I would never leave. I love you. She lied. The words were shaky. She lied to hurt me, to hurt us. Yes, she is cruel, but I am here. I am not going anywhere. Nathaniel's hands moved to her face. His touch was gentle despite his shaking. I cannot lose you. Do you understand? I cannot survive losing you. Before you, I was just existing, going through motions. You made me live again. You made me feel again. You are my everything. And you are mine. Then marry me again. The words tumbled out. I know we are already married, but marry me again, in front of everyone. Let me show the world that you are mine, that I choose you, that I will always choose you. We don't need to. I need to. His voice was fierce. I need everyone to know. I need to stand before God and society and declare my love for you. I need to erase any doubt, any rumor, any question. Her heart was so full it hurt. Yes, yes, I will marry you again. He kissed her then, and it was like the first time, and the 100th time, and every time all at once. It was promise and passion and pure love. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I am sorry. For what? For not protecting you better, for letting them hurt you, for not showing the world sooner how precious you are. You have nothing to be sorry for. You have given me everything. Not everything. Not yet. But I will. 1 week later, they stood in the Grand Cathedral in London. Every important member of society was invited. They all came. Curious, scandalized, eager to see what the Duke of Ashford was doing. The church was packed. Beatrice walked down the aisle in a gown of white silk and lace. It was the most beautiful dress she had ever worn. But more beautiful than the dress was the look on Nathaniel's face when he saw her. Pure love, pure devotion, pure joy. They stood before the bishop. The same vows were spoken, but this time they meant even more. This time it was a choice, not an obligation, not a debt, but love. When Nathaniel spoke his vows, his voice rang through the cathedral. I take you, Beatrice, as my wife, not because I must, but because I want to, because I love you with my entire soul, because you are my heart and my home, because I cannot imagine life without you. Tears streamed down her face. I take you, Nathaniel, as my husband, because you saw me when I was invisible, because you loved me when I thought I was unlovable, because you made me believe I was worthy, because you are my everything. The bishop pronounced them husband and wife. Nathaniel pulled her close. He kissed her in front of everyone. Deep, passionate, completely improper, and absolutely perfect. The church erupted in applause, not just polite applause, real, genuine, moved by what they had witnessed. At the reception afterward, Nathaniel stood and raised his glass. The room fell silent. My wife and I thank you for coming today. Many of you have heard rumors about our marriage. Allow me to address them now. Yes, I married Beatrice to settle a debt, but that debt is not what you think. The debt was mine, to her, for saving me from a life of emptiness, for bringing joy to my home, for loving my son, for loving me. I owe her everything, and I will spend my life repaying that debt with every ounce of love I possess. He turned to Beatrice. His eyes were wet. You are my Duchess, not because society says so, but because you rule my heart. You are my queen, my love, my life, and I am honored, humbled, blessed beyond measure to call you my wife. The room erupted in applause again, but Beatrice only saw Nathaniel. He held out his hand. She took it. He pulled her close, and they danced. The first dance as a truly married couple, as partners, as lovers, as soulmates. Society had seen their love. They could no longer deny it. The rumors died that night, replaced by a new story, a better story, one of true love conquering all. 6 months later, Beatrice stood in the garden at Blackthorn Hall. Her hand rested on her rounded belly. She was carrying Nathaniel's child, a new life, created from love. Nathaniel came up behind her. his arms wrapped around her, his hands covered hers on her belly. "Happy?" he asked. "Deliriously." "Good. That is all I want, every day, for the rest of our lives." She turned in his arms, looked up at the man who had saved her, who she had saved in return. "I love you. I love you more." "Impossible," he laughed, that laugh that was no longer rusty, that came easily now, that filled their home with joy. Thomas ran up to them. He was bigger now, almost 4 years old. "Mama! Papa! Come play!" They looked at each other, smiled, and followed their son. Together. Always together. Beatrice had been told her whole life that she was worthless, a burden, nothing special. But she had learned the truth. She was strong, she was brave, she was loved, and she was exactly where she belonged. In Nathaniel's arms, in this beautiful home, with her family, living a life she never dared dream of. Sometimes fairy tales do come true. Sometimes the broken girl and the lonely duke find each other. Sometimes love really does conquer all. And sometimes whispered words in the dark become promises kept in the light. "Your skin tastes like fear," he had said that first night they became truly husband and wife. "But your lips taste like surrender," she had replied. And in that surrender, they had both found freedom, found home, found everything.